is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your girl JD here, back with another video. So we got another one, you guys. We have another one. We thought that Mea Culpa was gonna be the only movie that we see from Tyler Perry this year, but no, we were wrong. We were wrong. There was yet another one. This one is called Divorce in the Black. You could watch it over on Amazon Prime. And now I'm wondering if he had a deal with both Netflix and Amazon Prime, because are we just gonna be pumping out movies on both now? Like, what is this? Hey you guys, Editing JD here, and I just really quickly wanted to shout out my brother's channel, Mike Dice Writes. He actually just put out a video not too long ago about Flight 19. If you guys are interested in stories with regards to history and also mysteries, stuff like that, definitely head over to his channel. I'll link it in the description below, but just wanted to shout him out real quick. So Tyler has released another movie, and the reception was even worse than Mea Culpa. I was thinking it was going to be about the same or just like right underneath it, but no, it was way worse. I actually saw over on Rotten Tomatoes that was a 0%. It was bad. I'm like, wow, not even a 10? 0%? Interesting. Recently I had actually made a video, I think this maybe 2 weeks ago or so at this point. It was specifically about Tyler Perry not making any more Madea movies so that he could focus most of his attention, or at least all of his attention, because he's gonna need it, but all of his attention on his other films that don't require him to dress up as Madea and be in the movies. So I was thinking, you know, if he could at least do that, cut out the Madea movies, focus on those other types of movies like this one, they might be better. However, I think that it's not really just that, and I even spoke about that in that video, that he needs help. He really needs help, but I think he has to want it for himself, and I don't think he wants it. I don't think he cares. So yeah, so that movie was released on July 11th. I watched it, I think maybe just a few days after it was released. And yeah, we're just gonna go into the storyline. It's not gonna be that deep because it's pretty much the same storyline for all of Tyler's movies as we've come to know. But this one is starring Megan Good, Corey Hardrick, Joseph Lee Andrews, Richard Lawson, and Debbie Morgan. So I think Megan Good and Corey Hardrick, they did pretty good jobs in terms of what they were given. I think Corey played the heck out of that role. Even though I'm gonna share my feelings about the role, I think he played the heck out of that role, regardless. Now Megan Good, I think also did a really good job. I think she's a really good actress, but again, I think you could only do so much with the material that you're given. And if you're in a Tyler Perry movie, yeah, the material, okay, it's the material. But I do find it ironic that he picked Megan and Corey, considering they just recently came out of two high-profile divorces. Megan Good from Devon Franklin and Corey Hardrick from Tia Mowry. So I don't know if that was on purpose. He was like, well, I want your raw emotion because you just came out of these marriages, and you know, I think you might be perfect for this role just because you literally came out of a divorce. But yeah, I don't know what exactly he was thinking in that moment, but it was just kind of ironic that they just came out of those two relationships. But anyways, regardless, we're just gonna get into it. The write-up over on Google, it says, Ava's husband, Dallas, leaves her heartbroken as he deserts their marriage. Dallas's malicious actions unravel as Ava gets a chance to find true love with her destined soulmate. So pretty much in essence, before I even get into it, bad guy with good girl meets good guy, but now good guy is back in her life because bad guy wants divorce, and now bad guy doesn't want to leave her because he's just like, yeah, no, you're not gonna get rid of me that easy. So it kind of sounds a little bit like Diary of a Mad Black Woman, just a smidgen. However, you know, Charles, he had his come to Jesus moment at least, but with Dallas, he never really does. He's kind of a bad guy through and through until the end, pretty much. You know what I mean? So let's dive into the actual storyline. Obviously, we've heard this many times, like I've said, but Tyler just drops us off in the middle of a dumpster fire of a funeral scene right at the beginning. It's probably one of the most ghetto funerals you probably would attend in your life. So we meet Ava and Dallas's characters as well as their family, because this is actually one of Dallas's brothers that have passed away. I think in total he had like 4 or 5, I don't know, but it was a lot of brothers. So one of them passed away, and I think it was because he was into some, you know, criminal stuff. But The pastor and his wife is actually Ava's mom and dad. They decided to host the funeral at their church just to kind of help the family out a little bit because, you know, funerals could get expensive. And on top of that, I think they paid for the casket that he was in and whatnot. So yeah, I think they paid for everything. So everything seems to be going decently until Ava's dad, aka Clarence, the pastor, decides he wants to kind of slip some remarks in there about Dallas's brother's life, who passed away. And he was basically saying, you know, this might be a lesson to kind of show you need to turn away from your wicked ways, pretty much, because his family is kind of known for being troublemakers and not really the best kind of people. Dallas's mother doesn't take too kindly to that shade, and she's just like, you know what, nah, we're gonna go. It gets really ratchet really fast. She's just ripping off her clothes. Apparently Ava's mom Jean gave her some clothes to wear to the funeral. She also tells her sons to take her other son, who's deceased in the casket, take his body out of the casket. And everyone's just looking around like, what the heck is this? So she felt disrespected, so she's just like, you know what, we're leaving and we're gonna take his body, and we're gonna bury him on our property. And that's pretty much what they end up doing later on. But yeah, so it's probably one of the most ratchet funeral scenes you might ever see, but it does serve the purpose of showing you that Dallas's family they're kind of rough around the edges. So Dallas clearly has some issues, you could see, with Ava, considering she tries to comfort him. She puts a hand on his leg and he just removes it, so he rejects her. And I'm just pretty much like, okay, they clearly have issues from the jump. But then we meet the good guy of the plot, which is Benji. And Dallas, we find out, clearly doesn't really like him, but he also used to kind of bully him along with his brothers. So they have an interesting relationship, interesting dynamic, but he definitely does not like when he even is in the presence of his wife, even though he doesn't really like his wife. So yeah, but Dallas is pretty much that over-the-top toxic male figure that Tyler kind of always has in his movie, and he treats Ava like dirt in the front of their friends and family without a care in the world. And it was also this scene where they were getting ready to go to dinner with Ava's friend and her husband, who just happens to be friends with Dallas also, before I guess he met Ava's friend and they got married. They were supposed to go to dinner with them, and he just decides, oh, you're taking too long, and leaves her at the house. But thankfully there's another car and she drives herself, which obviously we know is hella disrespectful, because it's just like, why didn't you just wait for your wife? Like, he's just like, oh, because she was taking too long. So yeah, it was a very awkward dinner. Okay, he gets very loud, and he also spews out that very memorable line, "Black women ain't ish," which it was like, okay, that was very like terribly written, but you know, I guess it kind of puts forth the idea or notion like he just really does not like Ava and wants to be done with black women in general. I don't know. It was just like kind of strange to me how they just kind of slipped that in there. He eventually serves Ava with divorce papers, which is really crazy to me, because even after all of this embarrassment, Ava is still trying to hold on to what is left of their marriage, if there is anything to hold on to at all. But he's the one to serve her divorce papers and is going after her, trying to push her to sign it, and it's just like, what? Huh? Like, I was very confused. Even after all of this, she was trying to fight for this marriage. What was left of this relationship? So at first she is fighting against the divorce, but then she kind of takes a step back. She goes to her parents' house for a bit, but not before her friend Rona, or Rana, I forgot how to say her name, but I'm just gonna say Rana, gives her a list of terrible things that Dallas did to her during their marriage, which I have to ask why, because I'm trying to figure out in general, why does she just keep a list of what is going on in her friend's marriage? Like, she just sat down and wrote everything? Like, it was just a bit much. Like, she tries to obviously tell Ava that she did it because she wants her to kind of recognize like there was a lot that maybe you're suppressing and you need to see it to believe it. But it was just overall a little strange, because who does that, you know? I get it, because she's that friend. She wants to make sure that her friend Ava is doing well and thrives in her relationship, or she wants to be by herself, all that good stuff. I get it. She wants to be that supportive friend, but it just was a little weird to me, because in real life it's like, who actually keeps a list of that type of stuff? I can see if you do it for yourself, but for your friend, it was like, okay, that's different. got it. But she presents that list to Ava. Ava takes it, she reads it, she feels away. And then her mom finds the list and talks to her about it. But they decide to keep it from her dad. But we find out that her parents never really approved of Dallas anyway. They didn't really like him because in general, the people in that area just don't like his family. And Ava kind of felt like she had to stick it out in her marriage because she wanted to prove them wrong. You know, like she wanted to say, hey, even though you didn't approve of him, I wanted to show you that he was good husband material, but he ends up not being anyway. So Dallas shows up to Ava's job and he pretty much embarrasses the heck out of her over there yet again. And after that, she just decides, you know, I've had enough. I'm just gonna go and sign these divorce papers, get it over with. But eventually we find out that he didn't really want it to be that simple. He kind of wanted her to put up more of a fight for their marriage, even though she had been the only one really fighting for their marriage to begin with. So it's just really interesting that all of a sudden he's just like, nah, I don't want it to be that easy. You know, anyways, obviously he's supposed to be that annoying character and he plays it well. So Ava was already pretty much moving on with Benji, even though she initially tried to convince everyone, including herself, that she was focusing on her and only her. But that definitely did not last long, as we can see, because she ends up sleeping with him in the house that she still technically shared with Dallas. So Dallas ends up breaking into the house and she finds him eating cereal, just chilling in their kitchen. And I'm like, okay, this guy is clearly crazy. Let's move on. So he decides he wants to head upstairs where he finds Benji sleeping in his bed after their night of stuff. So Dallas and Benji start fighting and they really try to make us believe that Dallas can actually go toe to toe with Benji, who is dang near twice his size. Like, come on now. Like, that fight scene just looks so unrealistic because in the past he had his brothers around him to like help him fight. It was probably a lot easier for him, but I think he's now reached this point in his mind where he's delusional enough to think that he can handle Benji on his own. So somehow Dallas gets knocked out and they put him in his truck. So a little bit later on, Dallas finds Ava's mom, Jean, in a grocery store. He says some pretty vile things to her, and someone at the store eventually tells Ava's dad, Clarence, who then goes over to Dallas's home to confront him about the whole situation. But Dallas's brothers basically ambush Clarence and shoot him in the leg because Dallas can't really fight his own fights. We pretty much seen that time and time again where these tough guys, or at least these guys who pretty much beat on their wives, beat on these women, I guess they feel this false sense of power because they could put their hands on a woman, but they know good and darn well they couldn't handle a fight toe-to-toe with a man by themselves. They just rather hit on the defenseless because they don't have what it takes to actually go one-on-one with someone who could hold their own in that fight. Like, he has to have someone else fight for him as well when it comes to men. So I find that pretty interesting. So Ava calls Dallas about this whole situation after they take Clarence to the hospital, asking Dallas if he had anything to do with all of this. Now they meet at their house and Dallas knocks Ava around a good bit before she calls 911 to kind of paint him as this violent man, since they need evidence that he had a part to play in her dad getting attacked. Now the police and everyone that they dispatched, they were on their way, but Ava ended up shooting Dallas and killing him, and she faces off with Dallas's mom at the hospital. The mom's just like, you don't think this is over, do you? Like, this isn't over, or something like that. And Ava just looks at her dead in the face and is just like, you should just let this be the end of it, okay? Don't pursue nothing. You should just let this be the end all be all. And that was pretty much the story. It basically cuts there. And I just have a few questions. I really was trying to figure out a few things here. So you guys can let me know in the comments if you had similar thoughts to me. So when it came to this whole storyline, I was really trying to figure out the entire time, where are the characters' backstories? Yeah, we got to see a little bit of the dynamic between, for the main characters, Ava and Dallas, their relationship, their marriage. We see why they got to the point where they are now, sort of, but not really. It's like you see a little bit here and there, they're arguing, they have their little fight at the end of the movie, but in terms of why they are to the point where they want to get a divorce, what actually really led them to this point of, I guess, Dallas in particular, it seems, really hating Ava. Why is he so ugh, why is he the way that he is? Like, I feel like there should have been so much more of a backstory when it came to these characters, at least for the main characters. Not so much for the side people, like we didn't really need all that information, but at least just for the main characters. For example, like I mentioned Diary of a Mad Black Woman earlier. At least with that story, even though we didn't see any type of flashbacks or anything, we still got to see a little bit of a build up, like just a little bit. Teensy bit. And obviously we know that Charles, he leaves Helen for this side chick, and Helen had actually met by accident this side chick before, and now she's realizing, oh, you're trying to kick me out of our house to put this side chick in? Like, really? So yeah, it gives a little bit of context, you know what I mean? It gives you some clues as to where this is going, but not too much. You know, I felt like that is what was necessary in this movie, like a little bit of backstory, a little bit of build-up would have been nice. Also, when it came to the character and the character developments, even though we didn't have flashbacks or, like I said, like a major story build-up when it came to the before part of their relationship, even though that didn't happen, when it came to us being placed in their story, just smack in the middle of it right before the divorce, even that part wasn't thought through. Y'all could let me know how y'all feel about it, but it was just so much stuff that was left out. It was like he just plopped us in the middle of the story, plopped us at dang near the end of their relationship, and was just like, yeah, they don't like each other now, so they're getting a divorce. You know, like, okay, it didn't make sense to me. Even with regards to how, like, Dallas's character, obviously we know he's over the top, toxic, all that. I feel like even bad guys and villains in the story have some type of arc, you know what I mean? Have some type of explanation for why they are the way that they are. Even Dallas had said something about taking his dad out, like killing his dad, because his mom wanted him to. I guess his dad was kind of abusive, but they never talk about that. So it's just a lot of things that don't really connect. They keep putting out all these details, but okay, how does this make the character who the character is? When it comes to Dallas, again, being the villain, how did he become the villain? How did Ava become the victim? And just overall, I'm trying to figure out if he just likes to torture us as the audience or if he is a tortured soul himself. Because at this point, I think you've reached the point of maybe we should do something different. Let's just try it for maybe 1 or 2 movies, 1 or 2 films or TV shows. Let's just see how it works out. Let's just try some writers. Let them cook. Let them do what you hired them to do. And I'm pretty sure we would see a turnaround. You really have to ask yourself, after so many decades of putting out so much work, why is there no growth? That is what I have to ask. Why are we not seeing any development of Tyler? Just forget about the characters and the shows and everything that he puts out. Why is there no development, Tyler? Like, what is going on with you, sir? Like, is it the money? Is it the fact that he wants to keep everything to himself? Like, I kind of doubt that, because so many actors and actresses have kind of vouched for him in terms of being that guy that pays them their worth. And even Megan Good had said that as well. And I think Taraji P. Henson had said something about that too. And I think that's awesome. But when it comes to him sharing in terms of people who would help him grow his craft and really develop his craft, it's like, I wonder if he thinks that because he's been in the business so long that he could handle everything by himself, because he's done so much by himself that he could just continue on that way. Obviously, when it comes to help, you have to want it for yourself. I think I said that already earlier in the video, but you really have to want it. I just think he is just stuck in his ways and is just a really stubborn person when it comes to this. But so many people have been making videos about this, including myself, where it's just like, dude, just get writers. You don't have to do it on your own. You have so much money, so much resources, and you could just pull anybody into your studio and be like, here. I'm sure he would easily find people who would just jump at the opportunity to work with him on these projects. I just don't understand. And then on top of that, for people, literally in my other videos, there were people who were like fighting me on this topic, basically saying he doesn't need any help, he still makes good movies, they're cult classics. I was like, okay, y'all going too far with the cult classic now. But I really do think Tyler could benefit from just having a different perspective. Just having different people in there so we don't have to see the same thing over and over and over again. That's really all I think I'm trying to get across. Is like, listen, you can make stuff that is creative. You can literally make storylines that are out of this world if you really put your mind to it. But the fact that we have not seen that yet really from Tyler after all of these years, it's what's kind of bothering me, because it's just like, you have the resources, you have the time, you have the money, you have the connections. What are we doing here? Why are we still writing by ourselves on a laptop, sir? Is it just the fact that, again, he just wants to do it by himself and have that honor of saying that he did it all by himself? I just don't honestly know what it is. And I don't know why he keeps fighting this. I think it might be because obviously he does already, like I said, have the money. So it's like, well, why do I need to change things up if people are still going to watch it anyway? But the thing is, people are watching it, but now it seems more people are watching it just to make fun of it. Not all press is good press. So y'all can let me know your thoughts on this one down in the comments. Again, I am frustrated, and I'm sure a lot of you guys probably are as well. I feel like nothing's really going to change again if he wants to have it a certain way. He's just going to continue to do it a certain way and nothing's going to happen. But I think in terms of the audience, there is still a good bit of his audience that still will watch his stuff no matter what and literally ride with him until the wheels fall off, and I've seen that in my comments. But for those people who are literally like me, y'all let me know your thoughts as well. I mean, I'm open to hearing anybody's perspective on this topic, but specifically with those people who have some ideas with the route that he should go into, y'all let me know. Let me know your thoughts, okay? It's a free and open dialogue. But I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.